You want to end this right now. You legalize drugs, folks. You decriminalize drugs. There won't be any more money for all these paramilitary groups. But you're not going to do that. No, because the banks are laundering the money. And every cop out there knows this. Our government admittedly now grows the opium in Afghanistan. They always did. That's why they kicked the Russians out. That's why we're there now, to bring the smack in. And that Colombian flake and all the rest of that cocaine coming in. But this is America. Now remember, they got plenty of SWAT teams and plenty of gun buyback programs and plenty of money for cops to come into the schools and brainwash your kids to spy on you. They got plenty of SWAT teams to go kick down doors and kill old ladies' chihuahuas, but they don't have the manhood to get down there and defend that border. Let it sink in real good. They tell you terrorists hit us and hit us hard. Back on September 11, 2001, they admit that people from Muslim nations, Middle Eastern nations, are pouring across those borders. I've got countless local newscasts showing it. The local police will catch van loads of people from Syria, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, and they're ordered to release them. Now, obviously, most of these guys are coming here illegally, just like Chinese immigrants are, because they want jobs. Because we know most of the terror is staged, and so does the government. When they're good and ready to blow up some more buildings so they can militarize things and have you, the milk cow producer that the vampires feed off of, go into more slavery. When they're ready to put a bigger ball and chain on your ankles, on my ankles, when they're ready to raise taxes and tell you it's to keep Al-Qaeda from coming out from under your bed at night and hurting you, they'll vaporize a city or blow up some more buildings or hijack some jets by remote control and fly them into buildings. And then there won't be any discussion on the news of why are our borders wide open, unless you're a citizen trying to come through with your ID. Oh, if you're a citizen, your car gets x-rayed, you get screamed at, U.S. Customs grabs all our cameras every time we come back in from Canada doing an interview and calls our office and makes us fax them the proof of purchase to make sure we're paying all our duties and didn't buy Sony cameras up there. And they let us know we're trash. You pay our salary, scum. Get down there and lick those boots. We're not I'm seriously, folks, I've had Canadian Customs treat me like absolute trash, cussing at me off and on for 15 hours. You know, it made the newspapers in Canada. They were going to send me to prison, they said, and flying in legally because I'm scum. And I've had the border guards treat me like scum because I'm an American, the American guards, because they've been told, let this trash have it. Run these people into submission. Break their will. And they're like, look at how cowardly and weak the slaves are. Meanwhile, mass death, mass killing, 22,000 deaths just on the border in the last 2 years on the Mexico and U.S. side combined. Car bombs going off in Dallas, minor footnote. I mean, they're blowing up cars full of explosives. And it's a minor footnote. They're killing cops everywhere. And 800-plus cities, the illegal aliens are above the law. They pull them over, cars full of whiskey, pull them over with drugs. They just let them go. They just let them go. And if the cops do arrest them, they get reprimanded by the judge. The judge just lets them go because the globalists want the Latin American population here because 90+% of the time they vote for gun control and big government. Sure, there's 9%, I guess, of conservatives. That's why Cuban immigrants are great for this country, because they're anti-communist. And again, this isn't what you think of as the mainline definition of communism. The bankers want communism. They want to tell you, see, the definition is never what they publicly claim it is. The average idiot in the street thinks communism means a free ride, means some government welfare. No, it means you're given just enough to make you dependent on the system. Like Obama is now unveiling the details of his health bill and going, oh, it helps you get insurance. And it makes poor people get it and pay for part of it, and it raises taxes and cuts Medicare and Medicaid. But I'm already digressing. I want to walk through, then we'll get into the latest on the spill, the latest with Iran. I want to walk through the situation we're facing in Arizona, particularly, but also in Texas. You heard one of the sheriffs, and I've had the sheriffs in Texas on the show. I'll see it in the local paper. I'll have my producers get them on over the years, where 2 miles, 3 miles, 6 miles over, Mexican troops in their Humvees pull up on the sheriff's deputies. They'll pull over a van full of cocaine or marijuana. This happens all the time. And here come Humvees out of the desert onto major highways, and they block the police cars in because the illegals, via walkie-talkie or cell phone, the drug smugglers, call the troops. The troops roar in, and they pull right up in military uniforms, and they walk right over, and they say, we're going to kill you if you don't give us those drugs back. And the sheriffs say they don't like it, but they're surrounded 3 to 1 by Humvees with machine guns on them, and they call the feds, and the feds say, we're not even writing a report. Now, imagine if citizens flying Gadsden flags were routinely surrounding sheriff's deputies with automatic weapons and robbing them. It would be hyperventilating on CNN, MSNBC. It would be martial law. It would be, we're banning all guns in America. When we come back, I'm going to play this senator admitting in a closed-door meeting with Obama. This is so vital that Obama said, I'm holding the American people hostage. We know the border's imploding. We're going to let this continue to unravel. That's why Bush, remember his big PR firm out of Dallas, the Dallas Morning News reported, funded the first illegal alien rallies 5 years ago? They are orchestrating all of this. Alex Jones back live on the front lines of the info war, deep behind enemy lines. You know, I've been running that liner for 13 years. From deep behind enemy lines, from a Central Texas command center. We are in occupied territory. We are occupied by an illegitimate offshore corporate government that wants to basically sell off the assets and has sold off most of the assets of the United States through globalization. This is a hostile corporate takeover and breakup of the United States. That is how all the globalists in their own books, their own handbooks, their own CFR reports describe it. This is what they've done to the third world. This is state-sponsored chaos in South Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and California, and it's spreading. Because the illegal alien gangs can kill whoever they want, and no one identifies them, and they don't put them in prison. The government knows what they're doing, and it's high treason. Senator Kyle was told by Obama in a closed-door session what is already obvious. I studied how the British brought down China. China would not allow opium into their country because it was so addictive and it caused problems. And so the British learned to bring it into their ports. Over a few decades, they corrupted the port cities. They got control of the local police because of the opium being illegal. It had huge premiums. Criminal gangs would rob and steal to get money for the opium. That then got fenced through the police and the British intel. Then British intel worked with the United States, France, and other Western governments and broke China first into 4 parts, then 8 parts, and 11 parts. Go research it. This is handbooks. British intel handbooks were declassified in the last 100 years. You can read all of this. There's been many best-selling books written about it. And the Boxer Rebellion was against this. And then it led to the Western powers being kicked out. So then they just funded Mao Zedong on record, now declassified. People wondered why Chiang Kai-shek got thrown out. They bring the drugs in. As long as you keep them illegal, that makes the price incredibly exorbitant, and then you take over society through the crime gangs. This is state-sponsored terrorism. And now they're going to hold us all hostage, and they're going to pass the total amnesty, and America is broken and dead and over. And you will all be peons. You will be slaves. And the government will take the giant, dumbed-down underclass of poor Hispanics, white people, black people, you name it, and forge them into a political weapon who will vote for destroying what's left for the middle class and voting for 60, 70, 80% taxes like France, and then transferring all that money to the elite, and the underclasses will be given small amounts of chicken feed. And the CPS will continue to take their kids for medical experiments and the rest of it, but they won't know because all they care about is LeBron James and the latest basketball or football or baseball score. They are literally wide open and psychically and politically and spiritually blind to the New World Order. And I have 20/20 vision, just like our listeners do from researching this, and we're sitting here watching this in outraged horror. This is a 21st century wrecking crew. Homes burning, rocket attacks, murders, newspapers being hand grenaded in the United States. It doesn't even make national news. Rocket attacks, hand grenade attacks, kidnappings. Every week I read about 10, 15, 20, 57 Americans kidnapped on the U.S. side, drug over to Mexico, murdered in mass, sold. Mexican troops, Mexican police shaking college kids down for money, putting them in prison, getting their credit card numbers, demanding hundreds of thousands from their families to release them. And the media won't tell people to not tell their college kids to not go down there. The dumb yuppies are in such denial, they send their young 18-year-old daughters down to Mexico so they can be thrown in prison and have all their money sucked out of them. And the stupid Americans, because the television won't tell them, still go down there to be murdered and kidnapped and slaughtered.